Imagine what it would be like to reach the end of your life and thinking, I could have done more. Join me today as I talk with Trav Bell, the bucket list guy. He wrote his first To Do Before I Die list when he was 18. He has now dedicated his life to helping others wake up and live their bucket list before it's too late. Hi, this is Bob Poole. Welcome to the Water Cooler Hangout. For over 40 years, I've been helping people like you grow and prosper. Please join me and guests like Seth Godin, Guy Kawasaki, Lauren Cordain, Beverly and Tim Walden, Phil Elmore, and more as we share real-life stories about sales, marketing, leadership, creativity, and current events. Need help in moving to the next level? Find out how others have done it by listening to the Water Cooler Hangout. Hi, everyone. This is Bob Poole, and I'm here today with Trav Bell, the bucketlistguy.com. He's also known as the Bucket List Coach, and he has a bucketlistcoach.com website. Good morning, Trav. How are you?
Hey, Bob. Well, it is morning where I am. It's afternoon or evening where you are, but stoked to be on, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
You're welcome. Glad you're here. You're actually in Ocean Grove, Australia today, right?
Yeah, which is about an hour and a half southwest of Melbourne here in Australia, the southern part of Australia. So it is the middle of summer right now. It's all good.
Nice down there, yeah. I've actually spent some time there in the summer, so it's...
One of the few Americans.
Yeah, right.
that have got down under. I think for every person in Canada or America, everyone I speak to is like, yeah, got to put it on my bucket list. Get down to Australia is on my bucket list.
Yeah, well, it was on my bucket list, as a matter of fact, and I did it back in the 90s. Yeah, and everyone does want to go. I was single back then, and I was in a bar like the night before my flight was leaving. And I'm talking to some people, and there was a couple of young women nearby, and they heard me saying I was leaving for Australia in the morning. Well, they were like offering to go. They just, we'll join you. Would you take us too? So everyone does want to go to Australia.
Oh, I want to hear the rest of that story, mate. It sounds like it ended really well.
Yeah. Married now.
I'm very good. Yes.
So anyways, you've dedicated your life to helping others wake up and live their bucket list, correct?
Yeah. And it was, it's kind of funny how all this came together. And someone actually called me the bucket list guy after the first, and we just had a chat off air about our CS being a CSP, certified speaking professionals. My first ever public seminar, let alone a conference seminar, but my first ever public seminar that I put on after I'd been through depression was when I packaged up all the personal development, life coaching stuff, NLP, and all about that stuff, positive psychology. I put all of that stuff into a seminar, and I was so scared, mate. But about 3/4 of the way through, I started sharing the fact that I'd had a list written down, like a list to do before I die, actually written down since I was 18. Not a lot of people knew this about me. And this was only 10 years ago. I became the bucket list guy, and it really inspired the group. And someone at the end of it said, how's this list to do before you die stuff? It's really woken people up. It's got us really thinking. It's, it went from a crappy sort of seminar to a not so crappy seminar. And someone, it was Joe, and she said, oh, it's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. I went, ping,
yep.
Light bulb moment, branding and marketing, you know what I mean? And I went home that night and registered the bucketlistguy.com. It wasn't taken. And better yet, Bob, I was on the Google machine, and I'm like, all right, well, Bob Poole's taken, I'm going to cement this thing. Who is the number one, who is like the expert of this bucket list thing around the world? Because, I love motivation speaking, but every speaker should be a motivational speaker. And I thought, all right, well, Trav Bell might get some street cred somewhere, maybe just in Ocean Grove, but I don't know about the rest of the world. I think from a branding marketing point of view, the bucket list guy would probably get more attention than just my name. So I looked around, went on to Google, and I went, you know what? I'm going to call myself the world's #1 bucket list expert as well. Why not?
Why not?
So I did it. And the funny thing is that everyone has been referring to me as that ever since. But it was a complete, I'm blessed to have been called that, and I've been doing that, staying in that lane. And as entrepreneurs, that's the hardest thing to do. I've stayed in that lane for the last 10 years. And, I always say to, fellow thought leaders, other speakers, coaches, pick a highway, then pick a lane, then own that lane. And that's what I've been doing with Bucket List ever since.
Fantastic. I like the story, the decision-making light bulb, the fork in the road kind of thing. That was your moment.
I had no idea how I was going to really make money from it. I love speaking. It was a big domino for me that I had to push over at the time. And I knew, all right, well, I just knew it was a match for me. It just ticked all the boxes in my internal rule book, which is my values. And I was like, this, in the age of authenticity, it was just a direct reflection of who I am and what I've been doing just without the brand. So now I've got the brand and I've gone, inch wide and a mile deep on that.
Mm-hmm. Now, before you were doing the speaking in the seminar, what were you doing then?
Yeah, I was in the personal fitness training industry. So I was one of the first personal trainers in the early 90s to be running around Melbourne. And I started with one client. I was the first to franchise personal fitness training studios in Australia. Oh, wow. We started with one client, ended up with tens of thousands of clients with a chain of personal training studios around Australia. About 300 personal trainers working under that brand, over 2 million personal training sessions. So that was my identity for 20 years. And I've always been an entrepreneur. I've never had a job. I don't think I'm very employable, to be honest. So get out of the way, boss.
There's a lot of us like that.
Yeah. Go figure. So but it was the personal training. One of my highest values, mate, and probably like you, is always helping people. But I've never been comfortable with just being a one-on-one coach, just helping a handful of people. It's not my DNA. I want to change the narrative around a certain issue. I want to change the conversation. I want to change people en masse. I guess that's why we end up being speakers, coaching one to many from the stage. And so personal training was that thing. And I grew that business into something that in the end was quite misaligned with who I was. I sort of got out of touch with people, became too much of a lawyer, too much of an accountant, lost sort of contact with people. There's a few toxic people in my life and in the business that were quite cancerous. One thing led to another. And I went through a bout of depression, and albeit mild compared to what I hear now. And it wasn't, I found myself in life coaching courses, like I said before, learning all this stuff to help other people. I was really helping myself. And then it wasn't until a friend of mine in one of these courses said, "Mate, Trav, why don't you teach this stuff?" And then that actually helped me then put on that first seminar that I just talked about.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Again, a great story. I was wondering how you made that transition. What happened to make it to become the bucket list coach, the bucket list guy. So what's the difference between a to-do list and a bucket list?
Well, mate, we're so busy on our daily to-do list that we forget about our bucket list until it's too late. Like the movie, the movie, The Bucket List.
Yep.
It's a crap movie. You know why? Because it's about two blokes, as we call them here in Australia, two blokes who get given a cancer diagnosis and then they write a bucket list.
Right. That's
stupid, isn't it?
It's too late.
And I've based my whole career on this stupid movie. but we shouldn't wait until we get a use-by date, right? And unfortunately, we are so busy being busy. It's like this weird badge of honor that we walk around with. How are you, mate? Oh, I'm busy as a one-arm drummer. Like busy. They wear it as a badge of honor. Are you bragging or complaining? What is it? So, it's not until something traumatic or dramatic happens to you or a loved one that you suddenly reprioritize and the thing like a bucket list becomes a priority. My whole job here mission is to wake people up before they get given a use by date so they can experience more meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in their life, because people are so busy being busy. I say, but and a lot of people living by this default rather than by this design. They're existing, not living. They're following, and living in this delayed gratification society that we find ourselves in. I'll be happy when syndrome, waiting for the perfect time or some day to come around. And you and I, we've seen it too many times. There's too many examples when people suddenly get given a use by date in the form of maybe a diagnosis, and then suddenly their daily to-do list is non-existent. Suddenly their bucket list comes to fruition. Yep. So I want the two to coexist and have as equal priority, because just being busy is not cool. Yeah. It's just not.
No, it's not. And yet that's what like you said, you talk to people and they'll tell you how busy they are. What do you think with COVID? Has it helped in terms of people aren't, likely to be as busy right now? Maybe they can now actually work on that?
Yeah, I think COVID has allowed us all, I really hope, it's allowed a lot of people to take a big collective global deep breath in. A lot of people have, and to recalibrate on, is there meaning in my life? Is there purpose? Am I on the path? Am I getting fulfillment? Am I happy? A lot of people have changed, and you'd know this. We were just talking again offline, and a lot of people have changed to this online world by, gun to your head, adaptation, innovation. We've had to change. We've got no choice. If you want to keep running a business, you've got to run an online business these days. Simple as that. So you can't just put your hands up and say, I don't like technology. No, dude, you've got to embrace it. Sorry, fail forward faster. You just got to. I think a lot of people have recalibrated and gone, you know what, I don't want to be stuck in traffic for, equivalent of 2 days a week from now on. I'm going to be working more flexible hours. There's big companies now not leasing out these other 2 floors that they were leasing out. And they're all now doing more work from home stuff so people can be with their families more. But not everyone's got a supportive ecosystem at home. We do miss that human interaction. So this whole work-life, I don't call it work-life balance, but I call it work-life blend, or the definition of what a work-life blend is, has really been changed for a lot of people in the past 6 months especially. And it's here to stay. I don't think we're going to go back to a new normal. We're all redefining what that is for us individually and finding flexibility and productivity hacks in being able to be more productive going forward. Because a lot of companies have actually come out of this as well and gone, you know what? We didn't drop off productivity at all. So, this is here to stay. Yep. So, I think bucket list is, I say, this is how I say it, is I say a bucket list is a tangible life plan, where our career plan or our business plan should fit into our life plan and not be the other way around. So what we're doing here is really bringing home the work to live principle, and our jobs, our careers, our businesses should produce 2 things and 2 things only. And that is, produce more cash flow and also more time flow for you to do the things that you want to do with yourself and your family. So I think the bucket list concept has become really prevalent in the last, especially in 2020, where people are searching for my reason why. Why am I getting out of bed in the morning? Am I getting more meaning? Have I got meaning, purpose, fulfillment in my life? And a lot of people have turned around and gone, you know what? No, I'm not. So this has really become quite popular, which has been great. And that's what, we've got a lot of we've got bucket list coaches around the world now. And we're often hearing from companies, large and small businesses, saying, we just want to, we're all online. We've got a remote work team now. We don't want to talk about work, but I've got to really connect with them. Can you do a program where we're just talking about life? Like, yeah, because trying to maintain a sense of culture in a remote work team environment is super difficult. So, and that's one of the things that we target with our bucket list programs.
Yeah, I think I come from the boomer generation. I'm that age. And my generation did, work. It was all about work.
Yeah.
And
it was learned from you.
Yep. I mean,
Thanks.
My dad worked.
Thanks for the lessons.
Same job in a steel mill for his whole life. So
my dad was a fitter and turner, same thing.
Yeah. And yet it's kind of good that I see the younger generations and that I work with, and some of the people now that are online want to come to, I started an online business. I see them really living now and looking for.
Yeah, so more choice. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to see the dynamic change. There's more of a, even, look, you look at the younger sort of tech companies like the Googles and the Facebooks and, all these tech companies. They do more personal development programs than professional development these days. They're learning and development budgets for getting guys like us in there to do workshops and that sort of thing. They're doing more life kind of programs more than ever now, because they want to be an employer of choice to attract and retain this good talent, to keep them engaged. Engagement is the number one metric. Mental health is also the number, close by. Yeah. But engagement, the average worker, for instance, changes their job. Check this out. Changes their job 15 times in their working life now.
Yeah, now it's amazing.
By just 5, 6 years ago, Bob, it was only 7 times. So loyalty and staying in the same job is kind of non-existent. We live in a contract world rather than an employment world now. And everyone's got a side hustle, got a different thing going, so it's a very different world that we live in.
Yeah, I interviewed a young lady a couple of days ago who had a side hustle that she was doing for a while, full-time job. She had a side hustle. And she finally said to herself, she said, I wish I would have done it sooner. But she says, I just, didn't have the guts. But I made the leap from side hustle and started my own company. She's doing fantastic. She's, just doing, in 1 year, she's had an amazing career change. She loves her job. She doesn't call it a job. She loves her life. So that's that generation. I'm excited for them.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It was actually about 10 to 15 years ago. I think Richard Branson said of Virgin said, and he said this from his hammock, from his island. And he said, in the future, it's really interesting how this has played out, but in the future, there will be no office buildings and everyone's going to be contracting to brands. It's like, maybe there's some insight there. And look at where we are now.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in the commercial real estate business right now.
Well, they've had it pretty good over the last whatever years, haven't they? So let's not be too sorry for them.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had commercial leases. I've held head commercial leases, and let's not be too sorry for them. Okay. Right. They've had their day in the sun.
So I have to ask you this. I ask people this every once in a while, but I think I'd like to know from you. If you could go back to when you were 18, what would you change?
I should know.
You could talk to your 18-year-old self. What would you tell yourself at 18?
Grow up. I would say, look, I've got 4 kids. One is 24. Charlie's 24, Jane's 22, and I've got 2 14-year-old boys that live with me. And I'm giving the same advice to them as I wish I got when I was their age, and that is hustle. Make some money, make it early. Don't go and blow it in the bars like some people did. But save. Get into the property market as soon as possible. Don't try and find, and I'm saying, get the deposit for the house, get into the market in whatever form, just get in. Don't go and try and find your passion straight away. You got to go and try and test and measure a whole bunch of different things while you're young, as fast as you can too. Go put in 6 months, go put in a year, go and do whatever. But, the more you go and try and test different things, the sooner you'll find out what your thing is. And the other big piece of advice that I've been actually giving lately to the younger crew is, because of social media and our access to an insight into into people that into networks, go and do an internship, or go and do many internships. Go work for free. Suck it up. You're not going to be CEO straight away, but go and do an internship, because with someone that you can role model, someone that you can look up to, that someone that you admire, you love what they do, and therefore go and be a pest. Go and follow them around. When you're young, you've got this thing called time, which a lot of busy people who you may admire, who might be a role model, don't have. Go and offer that. Right. That is a very, very valuable commodity. And two, you've got a younger network. If you've got a big social media following or something like that, go offer that up. Your network, time, these are things that busy people want more of. A new network and more time, as simple as that. Go offer that to someone, and I can guarantee you'll get a foot in the door.
Yeah. There was someone in NSA, National Speakers, who used to say, if you want to be a master, you go learn from a master. Spend your time, like you just said.
Go learn from 10 of them, and then you'll inadvertently become one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when I have two kids, and when both of them turned 18, I told them both the same thing. I gave them one piece of advice. Told him to go to Australia. I had already been there a number of times. I thought, go there, learn from other people. It's a different country, different culture. It's totally different. I said, you won't know until you experience it. And at the same time, you can, meet a whole different group of people that'll be with you the rest of your life. If you decide to stay, great. If you come back here, that's great too. But those people will always be with you for your life. And neither one of them listened to me, though.
No. Well, I think there's actually a big push in America for a compulsory gap year. There's a big movement.
Yep.
Like out of, and that's around that 18 years of age, right? So to go out there and go travel the world for an extended period of time, not just your 2 weeks or 4 weeks or a month, but go and do it for a year. And what it does is breed more tolerance, more acceptance. You become less insular, and you can go and experiment, and go and get exposure to a lot of different things that you'll definitely never get exposure to. And something in that year might also pop up that might change or alter your direction going forward.
Yep, good idea. Back when this whole thing, COVID, started, Seth Godin came out and told the world, said, kids, take a gap year. You're in college, whatever you are. If you're a freshman or you're a junior or whatever, take a gap year now. This is the year to do it, because there's for a variety of reasons. And he had some other suggestions too of what they could do. But I agreed with that idea, and I think a lot of them have here.
Yeah, I don't know. That advice from Seth is probably it would have been good if we had planes to fly on, though, mate. Like we could actually go, we could actually travel. Then perfect. Go do your gap year, but if you're not allowed to go into Italy, then there's not. But yeah, I think it's that's advice I give to myself, and I think Seth's on the right path. There is just go and experience the world. Because you never know. Throw yourself out there, And I'd hate to say, mate, that you're comparing Australia against the US. Do I sense a? Are you Canadian?
No, not at all.
You've got a bit of Canadian.
Well, that's kind of funny because I spent 2 hours a day talking to a Canadian. And right. I have this strange. I've never told anyone this other than I think my wife. And she picks up on it. I have this strange ability to adapt to accents. If I'm somewhere, I could be in West Virginia, and I've had people ask me what part of West Virginia I'm from. So it doesn't take long, and somehow I slip into it. So
the chameleon.
The chameleon might not be a good thing. I don't know.
I thought for a moment you threw out an about. It's a Canadian. Yeah. So where was I going with that? Don't know. Lost.
That's all right. What? I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. What's on your bucket list still?
Well, I've just crossed off one, and that is, and this was honestly 10 years in the making, and it's only this thick. It's pretty sad, isn't it? And that's if you're looking at the screen. If what I'm doing is holding up my new book that I finished just before Christmas, called My Bucket List Blueprint. And it absolutely did my head in, mate, getting this done. Talk about, I'm sure you've probably done 20 books given your history, mate, but it was such a battle for, the hardest thing about being a speaker is you love speaking so much, and sitting in front of a laptop is polar opposite to our natural personality. But it was such a battle in perfectionism and procrastination over the course of many years. But there's a lot of kind of cool stories in there, and cool stories from other bucket listers who have seen me speak over the years. But that was a huge one for me, getting that done pre-Christmas. Going into 2021, I've got what's my next thing? A stand-up comedy gig. Oh yeah. I am shitting myself.
I mean, you could be a speaker, but be a stand-up comedy. That's what I mean. That takes some,
that's next level, isn't it?
Yeah.
At next level. I mean, we've done a lot of speaking. I'm comfortable with being on a stage, but so I do. If I'm fearful of something, I use it as a signpost. Okay. Right, that I must do it. For getting the book out, I've just bought myself some DJ decks as well. I'm 47. Grow up, mate. But I've got just right here. I've got some DJ decks that are sitting right here. Okay, cool. There we go. There they are.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah. So I've wanted them for ages. I rewarded myself with to get the book out. I bought those for me. So I want to DJ a party this year. So, I also solo skydive, do another book, and what else? Swim with the whale sharks. That's what I want to do this year. And these are all things that are quite domestic, because I've got a lot of travel on the bucket list, but our wings have been clipped a little bit with that.
Yeah, you have done a lot of traveling. How many continents?
I think I've been on every continent, spoken on every continent except for Antarctica. So, Bob, if you know someone that's running a conference in Antarctica, I can tick that off my bucket list, mate. Well, I'm still waiting for that gig down at that biology centre in God knows where. I'm still waiting for that call up.
Yeah, you could probably get that. You get a ship to take you down there and do it on the. You could
one
do
of those Russian icebreakers or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I'm with you. I've been to all of them except Antarctica, so that's. Yeah, I love traveling too. One of my things on my bucket list actually was I had never been to Alaska, so.
Right.
So luckily, my wife and I, in 2019, we went to Alaska. We did a cross-country train trip and then did a cruise and then did some other stuff and went up. And so we were happy to get it in. I mean, can you imagine? We were like, if this had been, 6 months later, we'd be in trouble. So.
Yeah. And that's why we speak. I mean, that's why I got into speaking, why I love speaking is you find yourself at some really, I've done a lot in America and I love America, and you find yourself, I really am missing that. I've got to be honest. Getting on a plane, winding up in some godforsaken, who knows where I am, doing a gig to some new people that become friends, and we get connected, and I really do miss that, and the human connection with an audience. It's just not the same virtually. I'd hate to say, but. That's one of the main reasons I got into speaking and why I love it, because it takes you all around the world. And you can rock up as a speaker, get paid quite handsomely for the hour that you're there that most people would get paid in a month.
Right. Yep. If you like doing it, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling, and you're helping people.
Yeah.
You're helping people. The feedback from them is great. I enjoyed it. The travel got to be a bit much after a while, but
Yeah, it's funny. Just before sort of 2019 into the start of 2020, I was like sick of planes. Don't put me on another, because every time you leave from Australia too, you do an international gig. You've got to be on a plane for 10 hours, 12 hours. So that's just a way. That's just a part of our our makeup. Oh, that's what I was going to say before. In terms of passports, Americans have per capita some of the least amount of passports in the world per capita, and Australians have the most amount of passports per capita in the world.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There you go. About that whole gap year thing and traveling and yeah. So there you go. Side note.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, no, don't put me on another plane. God, I don't want to travel. Don't want to go to the airport one more time. And a year later, please put me on a plane. I'll go anywhere.
Yeah, even travel's looking good to me right now, and because I mean, there's just some things I'd like to do. I've got a friend in Florida. We all have things. So, but thankfully we have. My mother is 92 years old and is in Ohio, so I can't go see her, but I do see her. We just did a thing on Christmas Day. My sister, my mother, I should also say, is deaf, almost totally deaf. So it's very difficult to have a conversation. So, but using Zoom and or FaceTime or something like that, and having my sister there to translate. So, you can still do those kinds of things, and you can see each other. And thankfully, we have this machine in front of us that lets us see the world. Back if 100 years ago, if this had happened, then where would you be? You'd be,
Oh, well, that's called the Spanish flu.
Yes,
that
right.
actually did happen. Yeah. And a lot of people died.
Yeah.
I like I said before, I mean, we've had to adapt to technology. We've got, it was gun to your head innovation, gun to your head adaptation. And I think we're the better for it.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that we're better for it, and we miss what we did have. And going back to the old normal, that's not going to happen. So we're all readjusting to this new normal.
Yep. So then, what's the future hold for you? What's the plan?
Good question. For me, professionally, I'll keep doing my bucket list until I die. That's just the way it goes, and it evolves. For me, when I started, it was all about me, but now it's about we. It's about impact. It's about legacy. It's about, bringing people on the journey. I love the fact that people are reading the book now, creating their own bucket lists, using the My Bucket List Blueprint formula in the book. And they're doing, and I encourage people to do, their own bucket list, put their own oxygen mask on first before they can help others, doing couples bucket lists, doing family bucket lists, and now we're doing company kind of bucket list and different bucket list programs. We've got certified bucket list coaches in 22 countries around the world too. So I play founder CEO of that, and I've got an amazing team that handles coaches the coaches, and so we're certifying more and more quality kind of executive coach level kind of people to go out and teach these principles. It's largely founded on positive psychology, but with this bucket list brand over the top of it. And it's our way to go out there and help more people. And we've got a big vision and a big mission to go out there and help a lot of people. Coaches are basically doing what I've been doing for the last 10 years and going out there and helping people get this stuff ingrained and help them be happier, because, let's be honest, the statistics on the opposing side are freaking scary, man. Like depression is going through the roof, anxiety, the overprescription of antidepressants, youth suicides. We've even got this thing now called the loneliness epidemic. Like, it's the adverse effect of social media. Now, this stuff's not going away. So this is our way through this bucket list lens. This is our way of hopefully change the narrative around these stats, because, there's a lot of disengaged people. It is scary. It was scary before COVID. You go through COVID on top of this, it's gone through the roof, man. There's 73% of people, 89% of people who go to work every day in America are what they call disengaged. There's only 90% of people who go to work just getting paycheck to paycheck, and they're just like, nah. It's like, dude, what's going on there? Like, something's broken.
Yeah, something's broken. So if someone wants to find one of your coaches, how do they find them?
let's end on a positive note. I guess something broke at the world's flip. Who bought this guy? They go to bucketlistcoach.com and go through the qualification process. If you want to be a coach, but if you want to be simply, if you want to get a bucket list coach, right. And we do a lot of group coaching programs for companies and this sort of thing. They can go to bucketlistcoach.com or just direct message me, and I can direct people in the right direction. And we've got bucket list coaches we've got bucket list coaches in some countries in like Europe and stuff where if you translate the word bucket list, it makes no freaking sense at all, but they still get it. You know, places like Switzerland, Mexico, Costa Rica. I'm looking at a world map over here. Vietnam, but everyone gets it. And that's the really cool thing about what we've created here. We've got the worldwide trademark, registered trademark to Bucket List Coach. And we're doing, it's kind of like a life coaching framework, but without saying life coaching. That gets met with skepticism. So, we're doing our little bit. But, Bucket List Coach is kind of where it's at.
Sounds wonderful. I think that'll be a big help to a lot of people. So the book is, once again,
there's the plug.
My Bucket List Blueprint.
Look at that idiot. Okay. Look at that idiot on the front cover. Look at that.
That's great. My Bucket List Blueprint. Amazon, I guess. I
can
find that.
Yeah, people can go to, if they want a signed copy, which they're getting over to America pretty quickly, actually. They can go to thebucketlistguy.com/book, and I can get one of those over to you. I'll put a little autograph in there and a little message, or they can find it on Amazon and stuff like that if they're a Kindle.
Great offer. Yeah. I hope it keeps you busy writing. Writing those names.
Yeah, I've popped the cherry, mate. So I've got this out of the way, and now I'm one of the parts of this book is I'm collecting all these bucket lists, right? So at the end of the book, there's actually a link that you can send your completed bucket list through to the link, and slowly but surely we're building up another book, aren't we?
Yes, that sounds good. Yeah.
There's some weird shit that people want to do in their life too, man.
I was going to say, I'd like to hear see that list.
I don't want to see yours. I reckon there'll be some weird stuff on there, man. You've had a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. You'll end up in some dark places.
Yep, I started a bucket list like you very early. I've done most of it on there. There's still some stuff, and I guess it changes all the time. It's been great talking with you, man.
Yeah, Bob, thanks a lot for having me on the show, man. And, happy to always do a round two, and really easy to talk to. And hopefully people get a lot out of our conversation and see the light at maybe the end of this COVID tunnel.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. And I would like to get together with you again. And I think this will help people. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, not to be a downer, like you said, but there's a lot of people that do need a lot of help right now. And we can see that, and I can see it with, I work with them sometimes. So my wife is in the world of social work, so she sees them all, So bucket list is what they need. So
yeah, I truly and don't just do it for yourself. If you've got kids, let's get this in front of kids. Yes. Like teenagers. Whenever I run a public seminar, I say, okay, if we've got the chance, bring in the kids, bring them in for free. I want to get this stuff imprinted before they get old and angry like us, or disenfranchised. But the earlier people see this kind of perspective, I think we'll have a happier world.
I think you're right. Thank you very much.